The way you make your coffee has become a social signal so powerful that almost everybody has their own preference nowadays. You got the beanie wearing pour-overs, the big money brewmasters with their espresso machines, and the coffee pod people who clearly haven't watched any of our videos yet. But despite where you are on the coffee spectrum, you'll probably recognize one of the most iconic and impactful coffee techniques ever, the Bialetti Moka Express. A huge thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this video. Italians love their coffee. It's basically their national drink. Coffee was first introduced to wealthy Italians as an exotic and expensive luxury item in the 16th century. But with the popularization of steam-pressured consumer products in the early 20th century, Italian coffee culture changed forever. In 1906, Luigi Bezzeria and Desiderio Pavoni this is gonna be brutal. Luigi Bezzeria and Desiderio Pavoni introduced the world to the first commercially successful espresso machine. This thing used highly pressurized water and fine coffee grounds to brew a very potent cup of joe in a matter of seconds. This machine was so massive and costly it was pretty much exclusively used in public coffee houses, and homebrewing was just not really a thing at this point. Espresso helped transform Italian coffee culture into the stereotype that we love to this day. Drinking espresso was a social experience. Working men would spend long afternoons smoking cigarettes, playing cards, and sipping their drinks in the streets of Italy. Minus the cigarette, it actually sounds like a dream. But in the 1950s, Italy went through another shift. With the post-war economic boom in full swing, consumers were getting larger houses and luxuries that they never had before in the comfort of their own home. And coffee was one of the first things to make that transition. Alfonso Bialetti was an Italian metalworker who, according to the legend, was inspired by housewives using steam to clean their linens, and in the early 1930s, he acquired a patent for his own scaled-down espresso machine, the Bialetti Moka Express, which we all know today. It's just an aluminum pot. You pour water into the bottom, fill the next section with coffee grounds, and then put the whole thing on the stove. Steam pressure forces hot water through the grounds and into the main pot, creating a rich brew that is comparable to espresso. And no, it's not exactly like espresso. I see you coffee nerds out there getting ready with your actuallys. The end result does taste a bit different, but for the average coffee consumer who doesn't have a cafe degree, it's basically espresso but easier and cheaper. Man, I can just hear the comment section here already. Now I've learned that you can easily spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a modern espresso machine that takes up your entire kitchen counter, or you can get a Bialetti Moka Express for 30 bucks and stash it in a hiking backpack. The Moka Express is like the iPhone of coffee technology, and it really did change the game, but it almost didn't. See, while that classic while that classic design was near perfection, Bialetti apparently did not know a single thing about selling the damn things. In his defense, in the early days, he was trying to sell these things during World War II, when like coffee and metal were fairly difficult things to acquire. So it's not entirely surprising that he ended up closing his shop entirely. As we mentioned before, it wasn't actually until after the war that his son Renato took over the Bialetti family business and changed everything. Renato gave Bialetti a total makeover and set out to create a distinctive brand that embodied both traditional Italian values and the changing ideologies of a post-war world. As you have seen, businesses can change the world, and the sponsor of today's video is all about business. Shopify is an easy, all-in-one commerce platform for anyone to start, grow, and manage their business. They make it so easy to set up a small business and storefront through their platform. Plus, Shopify supports businesses along the entire journey, giving them the resources that they need to grow. We like to see Shopify as a facilitator for new business ideas, not just an online marketplace. Shopify lets you sell online, in person, and on all social media platforms. They encourage and empower smaller companies to innovate and lead change through entrepreneurialism. Shopify's new starter plan, which is kind of nifty, lets you create a simple store in minutes for only $5. This helps introduce users to commerce and is easily upgradable to unlock the full power of Shopify as their businesses grow. They're an amazing company and they supported the channel from the beginning. So to get a free trial and a step-by-step guide on how to launch a store through Shopify, check out the link down in the description. The product itself is a perfect example of this. Bialetti blended modern technology with the Italian tradition for elegance and craftsmanship. God, these Italians are just so freaking classy. Talk about friggin' meatballs, drink coffee, smoke cigarettes in the street, eating bolognese. It was a brilliant marketing move on Renato's part. The world was changing fast, but there was a sense of loss after the war, and he set out to make the Bialetti brand nostalgic of pre-war traditions while embracing the emerging culture of consumerism and egalitarianism. To achieve this, he commissioned the beloved L'Omino coi Baffi mascot, reminiscent of the grandfathers who used to enjoy those long afternoon coffee sessions on the streets. But importantly, he invited a new demographic into the coffee world, the Italian woman. Now, up to this point in Italy, coffee was mostly a man's game before the war, with women largely remaining in domestic settings with no access to cafes and whatnot. But in the mid-century, things were changing. Gender roles were being dismantled and men spent longer hours with household chores while women pursued careers. Bialetti embraced this egalitarian mentality and often featured women in the ads or men making the coffee. Renato plastered these kinds of ads periodically on every available billboard in Milan, and it worked. At one point, the OG Bialetti Sr. sold 10,000 units a year. But with Renato's marketing push, that number went up to 1,000 per day. Soon this was just the thing to have, and today it's estimated that 90% of Italian households have a Moka Pot, Bialetti, or otherwise. As someone from our Reddit community pointed out, it could be the most Italian thing ever. Huge thank you to Surveyor3_ for the video suggestion and your commentary. If you're not already a part of our subreddit, you should be. We check it regularly, and your input over there helps us make this channel better for us and for you and everybody else on the internet who happens to find our videos. So get on it. While Moka Pots remains a deeply Italian thing, their popularity slowly spread, influencing coffee culture worldwide. Both Moka Pots and espresso machines gained global popularity as the 20th century moved on, their successes playing off of each other as the world got used to rich coffee. But while Bialetti benefited somewhat from the rise of espresso machines, they suffered from all the other competing products that they ironically paved the way for. Companies like Nespresso popped up in the wake of Bialetti's success, which advertised itself as a simpler and more luxurious way of getting that espresso hit. We have a whole other video about coffee pods, so if you're interested in learning about the brands and companies that are shaping our world going into the future, you should subscribe to the channel. Or don't, because it can be very depressing, and ignorance is bliss. In general, people were getting used to alternative brewing methods. Instant coffee sucked, and people were starting to learn that. It doesn't take a history buff to tell you that compared to the 1930s, the modern coffee junkie has access to an insane number of brewing contraptions that I swear were all just invented so James Hoffman had a job. Just kidding, James, we love what you do. Wouldn't it be great if we somehow developed beef with James Hoffman?
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
So while Italy remained largely loyal to Moka Pots, albeit not always Bialetti ones, Bialetti had to fight for a share in the rest of the world's ever-expansive coffee scene. And with the rise in convenience culture and options like Keurig to get a zero-effort caffeine hit, there wasn't always demand for a product that took, like 4 seconds more effort to do. There's also kind of a weird irony here. This is a company that builds products to last, and despite everyone agreeing that a better quality product is better than a crappy one, modern consumerism has kind of convinced us otherwise. It does not matter how beloved the Mocha Express is. If people aren't buying it because they've been using their grandma's hand-me-down for the last 3 decades, the company has to find another way of making profit. This was already going to be a pretty massive hurdle to overcome, and then something happened that risked the entire company going under. Renato Bialetti, the marketing genius behind the brand, passed away in 2016 and had his ashes placed in a specially made Moka Express. Yes, I am being completely serious right now. Without his leadership, things got really dicey, and by 2018, Bialetti was on the brink of bankruptcy. It ended up taking a certain worldwide crisis for Bialetti to rise from the ashes, so to speak. If there is one positive thing to be taken away from COVID, it is that in some circumstances, it reminded us that those slower, simpler ways of doing things are actually done that way for a reason, like sourdough bread, Moka Pots, and Crocs. Now, I would love to say that this brand is still just a bunch of old Italian people making these pots, and the new success is helping bring back intentional, community-oriented Italian coffee culture to the masses. But you're watching a future-proof episode, so you probably guessed that we aren't gonna have that Disney story arc to this video. Today we have Moka Express specific coffee grounds, designer mugs and pots, coffee grinders, even French presses, and yes, coffee pods, just to name a few. So from a romantic perspective, this is a story of a beloved legendary company persevering against adversity, but it could also be the beginning of a very new chapter for Bialetti that might not particularly work well with its past. It is kind of the perfect irony that this company, built on the shoulders of one of the most famous and legendary coffee cultures in the world, is now making coffee pods. This is the country that told Starbucks to go f themselves for 47 years. But today there is almost a dozen Starbucks locations in Italy, so perhaps everything is screwed up and we should just stop trying. All of us just throw in the towel on 3. Let's give up. One day we will end a video like that and it's gonna be so rowdy. But here is my hopeful rose-colored glasses perspective on the situation. It is kind of nice to see Bialetti get a second chance, largely because of what the Moka Express as a product represents. A move away from the frenzied culture of the time and more into an intentional, grounded experience with our coffee. From a sustainability and monetary perspective, Moka Pots are just about the best option on the market. The only things you need to make a Moka Pot work are grounds and water. There is no disposable filters to waste money on and then chuck when you're done. And unlike, say, Keurig, you're not trapped by using only the brands that they approve of. You're free to source your beans however you want, which ends up being cheaper and enables you to purchase from more ethical places that are probably also going to be tastier. It is also hard to imagine a coffee maker that is more durable and solid than an aluminum or stainless steel Moka Pot. Their extremely simple and modular design means that there's not really a lot that can go wrong here. And if something does go wrong, you can always just replace one of these little parts instead of buying an entirely new product. This is why Moka Pots are known to sometimes last 50 plus years, often being passed down multiple generations. This is a timeless design that basically hasn't changed in 90 years, minus that weird Supreme collab that we sort of glossed over there. And yet, it remains beloved for both its aesthetic and functionality, to the point of being featured in freaking art museums. You don't have to worry about your Moka Pot going out of style. If this thing worked a century ago, it's probably still gonna work a century from now. And as a bonus, some people insist that your coffee will actually taste better the longer that you use your pot. Now, I'm sure there is a lot of people on the internet,
well, no shit,
James Hoffman included, who can tell you what it is like to drink coffee that comes out of a Moka Pot. We did not try the Moka Pot coffee experience for this video, but now I really want to try it. Apparently there isn't really a lot to it, other than the fact that you kind of have to monitor your Moka Pot and take it off the stove when it's done, otherwise it kind of might taste like crap. There are a few other things you can do wrong here, but honestly, it doesn't sound like rocket science. You don't even have to time this thing. You just need to make sure you're in the area when it does that little gurgling thing and then take it off the stove right away. This would be a great intro for anyone who's looking to get into coffee. It's known to be a beginner-friendly option while still being very versatile. It also produces a rich, robust, espresso-like coffee, which is perfect for experimentation. And for many people, the whole Moka Pot process becomes a satisfying ritual. From the aroma of the grounds, to the feel of screwing the pot together, to that soft gurgle at the end, it's a multi-sensory experience that helps ease you into the day. Honestly, do you need any more convincing? Like, I wanna buy one, and I freaking made this video. It does not necessarily have to be a Bialetti, but just go out and buy something, okay? Anything, just get out there, start swiping that card. I'm kidding, of course. If you have a coffee setup already that works, then just ride that sucker to the end. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel for more content, and we'll see you in the next one.